From a creepy bone house with over 1,200 painted skulls to an ice cave that was once thought to be the gateway to hell, here are 12 strangest places in Austria. But first, thanks Daniel Keiselgruber for leaving us this comment. There certainly are some strange places in Austria, and we're gonna explore those right now. Number 12. Kunsthaus. In the picturesque Austrian town of Graz, something massive and strange sticks out like a sore thumb. This massive museum was designed in sharp contrast to the historical architecture, as you can tell from this photo, and is basically the opposite of everything that surrounds it. This modern museum was constructed in 2003, at a time when Graz was an annual cultural capital of Europe. The designers clearly wanted to give the old town some modern flair and put this alien-looking spaceship-type thing right in the middle. The unique building is used to house contemporary artwork, films, and photographs. At night, the building's lights light up with the addition of 1,000 fluorescent lights. Although some were quick to criticize the design, it's become a major landmark in the town and the identity of modern-day Graz. Number 11. The Pink Rabbit. Many people have considered the capital city of Vienna to be the most beautiful city in the world. It's home to many elegant buildings and have been home to some of the most brilliant minds throughout the times. Between all the elegant opera houses and ballrooms is a statue that kinda sticks out quite a bit. This giant pink bunny, or hare, was created by a German concept artist, Ottmar Horl, and sits in front of the iconic Vienna State Opera House. This extremely amusing landmark certainly adds a little bit of flair for those who appreciate modern art and get tired of all the neo-Renaissance architecture of Vienna, similar to what we see with Graz. Some claim that once you see the bunny, the rest of Vienna just seems like the same dull color. What do you guys think? A good addition to the city? Or is it disrupting the culture and architecture of the area? Number 10. Googlemoogle Austria. This building found in Vienna, which translates to Ball Hill, has a pretty strange design and concept to it. If you came across this ball-shaped house thing surrounded by barbed wire, you'd probably be kind of confused. Disputes between the Austrian authorities and the artist actually made this strange building its own country. The designer, Lippberger, was arrested for creating this ball-shaped house and spent 10 weeks in jail. It's surrounded by barbed wire and has an address that doesn't say Austria. The nation has 650 non-residents, has its own flag, and even has its own official seal. It's mostly just a tourist attraction, but it is officially its own micronation. You wouldn't be able to legally visit Googlemoogle unless you can scale a barbed wire fence. It's got quite a bit of protection for such a small country. Number 9. House Attack. Oh no, it looks like a house has fallen from the sky and collided with this giant black building. Did some angry giant throw a house into this building? Or did it just get stuck? Or could it be another strange art exhibit in Austria? Or even possibly aliens? It's unclear whether or not this is still installed at this museum today, so if any of our Austrian subscribers out there know what the deal is, let us know in the comment section. This was designed by artist Erwin Wurm, who's also known for his outrageous and often comical pieces of art. This certainly wouldn't be your ordinary living space for anyone, and walking below the house might make some people worried that it's about to fall at any moment. Also in the capital of Vienna, it displays some modern style in the Museumplatz district, where a bunch of museums are crammed into one area. Visitors could actually walk inside the house and see what the design looks like from the inside. Number 8. Hundertwasserhaus. The Austrians keep up with their strange artwork and concepts when we take a look at the Hundertwasserhaus in Vienna. It almost seems as though Austria is getting tired of their own classical artwork and architecture and is doing the opposite as much as possible with crazy colors and designs. This strange apartment building isn't symmetrical anywhere you look, but was quite the architectural and artistic achievement. It actually contains 53 apartment buildings, 4 offices, 16 private terraces, 250 trees, and 3 communal terraces. Completed in 1984, it's become one of Austria's most popular tourist attractions. It's fairly easy to notice with the bright colors and checkered pattern. Vines on the exterior grow on the building, and it sort of resembles a type of shanty town you might come across in Brazil. But since it's in Vienna, it's home to some pricey real estate. Due to the artistic nature of the building, it's become a popular Airbnb location where guests can stay for about $52 a night. Number 7. Habsburg Imperial Crypt. Austria is certainly home to more than just strange artwork. they got some pretty creepy places as well. One of those places is certainly the Habsburg Imperial Crypt, which is the final resting place of the Habsburg dynasty, located in Vienna. This certainly isn't your average crypt, and this place is home to some seriously scary looking sculptures. Also called the Capuchin Crypt, this is brought to you by the same people who created the Capuchin Crypts in Rome. You know, the ones where all the walls are covered in bones? Depending on your taste, this one is just as creepy, if not creepier. Construction began in the 17th century, and this church houses the bones of 145 members of the Habsburg royalty, including 12 emperors and 18 empresses. Many of the tombs are elaborately decorated like we see here, with a sarcophagus of Emperor Charles VI. It's been used all the way up until 2011, when Otto von Habsburg passed away. This photo here shows the grim ornament of the sarcophagus of Charles VI, and it's wearing the imperial crown. Number 6. Riegersplutter Castle. Many of us might see the medieval and Renaissance-style castles as a symbol of knights in shining armor during a period when men had the upper hand. But this isn't the case with the Riegersplutter Castle, which was built in 1122 on top of a dormant volcano. A baroness took over the castle, Katharina Elizabeth von Welscher, in the 17th century. She greatly expanded the castle into a massive hilltop mansion with 108 rooms surrounded by 3 kilometers of walls with 5 gates and 2 trenches. During the time when Austria was bordering with the Ottoman Empire, this castle provided many with shelter in the case of an invasion. But it was also the setting of intense witch hunts which took place during the 1600s. A woman was also executed for sorcery here, and she was to blame for the bad weather during a long period of time in Austria. Today, this castle houses a witch museum, and at least a dozen rooms of this castle are dedicated to witch history. Number 5. Danube Island, Austria. Located in the middle of the Danube River, the Austrians built a man-made island which is home to clubs, bars, restaurants, and even a popular music festival. This was originally built in order to protect Vienna from flooding during the 1970s. Flooding and flash floods are a major concern for Vienna's inhabitants. Excavation material was put into the Danube's existing riverbed, which creates a massive 13-mile island in the center of Vienna's metropolis. There are close to 2 million trees and bushes that were planted here, and it attracts many visitors who want to see some more modern creations and parks in this historic town. Number 4. Rubra Church. This Stonehenge-looking church was built on the site of a former Nazi barracks and is basically a jumble of concrete formations. It's named after the architect who built it, Fritz Wrobel, and should be considered unorthodox by any standards. It took 2 years to complete from 1974 to 1976. And it was surprisingly inspired after Fritz took a trip to the Slaughterhouse Cathedral in France. Fritz would never get the chance to see the completed church and passed away in 1975. It consists of 152 asymmetrically arranged concrete slabs, with some weighing as much as 141 tons. Some locals resisted the design of the church because it lacks any resemblance to religious structures. But ultimately, it stood. It looks as though it should be really some type of abstract art museum. Other critics gave it a positive review, claiming that its simplicity is what gives it so much beauty. Located at the edge of Vienna, it's completely surrounded by trees and is on the edge of the city limits. Number 3. Eisriesenwald. You might not realize it, but more than half of Austria is actually made up of mountainous terrain from the Alps, and many caves are present in the western part of the country. Possibly the most mysterious cave in Austria, this cave was actually dubbed as the World of Ice Giants in German, and many have believed that there was something strange going on here. This was one of the world's largest ice caves, and many thought it was the entrance to hell for a long period of time. There's over 24 miles of cave tunnels here, and even though there was ice in some parts, no one had any idea where it would take them to. Due to the creepy legend surrounding this cave, no one dared to venture off inside until 1979. Number 2. Hallstatt Skullhouses. Inside the picturesque town of Hallstatt in the Alps area lies a pretty dark secret that might seem a little bit grotesque. Since the area near Hallstatt is in such a rocky area, it made burying people a little bit more complicated, and they quickly learned that something else needed to be done or there'd be no space left at the cemeteries. So what they came up with was a little bit bone-chilling, you could say. The cemetery allowed for people to be buried, but after 10 to 15 years, they would dig up the bones and place them inside what's known as a beinhaus or bone house. This is where they would store the bones at. The gravedigger would paint the deceased name on the skull and the years they were alive, along with a decorative painting of some type of ivy or flowers. The whole process seems downright creepy, and we imagine this job was not easy. This is hauntingly bizarre on many levels. And number 1. Noren Term. Anyone out there interested in visiting the oldest building in Europe, specifically designed for housing mentally ill people? Constructed in 1784, it was built like a fortress, but not for keeping people out, but for keeping people in. There were a total of 139 individual cells for inmates, and there was even an underground dungeon discovered here. No one knows exactly, but it was supposed to be originally made by Capuchin monks of Vienna in order to house other monks who seemed to have literally lost their minds. If you came here in present times, you'd be quite surprised. It was once a mental asylum at one point. People come to this strange place to have a beer, eat at a restaurant, or to have a coffee. If it didn't seem strange enough for you already, it also houses one of the largest collections of wax figures that have been physically deformed due to pathogens like we see here in this photo, for example. Other strange things like babies in jars is also on display, like we see in this photo. There's quite a few graphic things here, and it really is just a strange place if you've ever been.